Hello, my name is Jesse Meekum with another episode of The Jesse Meekum Show, and I'm here each week to obsess out loud about spending purposefully, saving aspirationally, and giving joyfully. It all comes down to just merely only giving every dollar a job. I have a little challenge for you. If you have a big, fat, plump emergency fund, my challenge to you is to delete it. Or at least maybe give it a little haircut. That savings that you have there, we call it savings a lot of the time, and people will say, well, that money is there. I've got it saved up, and it's for an emergency. And then when an emergency happens, this weird thing also happens to us psychologically where we feel sad that we are now using our emergency for this emergency because that's for an emergency, and how could we? And it's a weird thing because you tell yourself it's for an emergency, and then when an emergency pops up, you don't feel that great about it. And I have two theories. One is what you've experienced isn't actually an emergency, but you're calling it that and justifying pulling from the emergency fund. And the other thing is you just like the big pile of money, and no harm there. But we have to recognize that savings is just spending money that isn't spent yet. So when your grandpa's like, hey, here's some spending money, you wouldn't be like, ooh, this is my savings. But you might say, ooh, I'm going to save this for a little bit, add it to my other spending money, save up, and then buy the thing. Did your grandpa give you savings? No, he said, here's some spending money, right? But for some reason, when we call the thing savings, it creates in us this resistance where we no longer think we should spend it. And then you're left kind of wondering, like, well, when you die, is the money just meant to sit there until you die and the final emergency is the coffin, a sweet, sweet, sweet coffin? Perhaps. But my challenge to you in saying to delete your emergency fund is just to get rid of that designation and instead look at that big pile of money and start to give it specific jobs. When you say emergency funds are savings or savings, this savings here is an emergency fund. It's a little bit like having a football coach say, all right, guys, the goal is stop the offense from moving the ball against us, right? Push back on the offense. And so each player on this football team is saying, coach, what do? We got to stop them from moving forward. And they're like, okay. And then the offense just keeps moving forward, just keeps making progress against your defense. It is far better. Now, the coach could be just screaming, top of his lungs, guys, you got to stop the ball from moving. You got to stop it. Hold him back. Whatever he says, it's just this general kind of grobe, loose direction that the team understands, like, yeah, the goal overall is to keep the offense from moving forward, but exactly what am I supposed to do? And so if the coach, and this is where my football knowledge breaks down entirely, but if the coach were start to say, okay, linebacker, your job is this, and such, your job is that, and the safety, your job is to make sure they don't go deep or something like that, then you get these very specific jobs given to very specific players, and the overall goal is served. It's actually served far better. When you give specific dollars to specific jobs to specific dollars, I should say. When you do that, what you're really doing is kind of taking the scariness out of these emergencies. And I want you to just test that and see, once you've taken that big pile of money and named it, I want you to see if you don't feel a little bit better, a little more secure, maybe a little more clarity about what that money is really supposed to do. Because it's not really there to just be there for emergencies. It's there for the HVAC unit that I'm going to talk about apparently for the next year. It's there for the roof. It's there for the water leak. It's there for the car. Now, when you start to say things like, oh, this emergency fund, last time I used it, it was to replace my car tires. That's when you start looking to the second question, to our stability question, where you can say, oh, that's an eventuality, not a maybe. Not a probable, but like an event. It will happen. We don't know when, but we know it will. And so you start to give those types of expenses, those larger, less frequent expenses, this emergency fund is actually having you prepare for them specifically. And what do we get from that? We get named dollars with specific jobs. And then when the spending must happen for that crazy HVAC unit that died just after warranty, when the spending must happen, you don't feel guilty, you don't feel bad, you don't like the HVAC manufacturer, but you don't feel bad spending the money. And that is a win. So what we've done is we've just taken our age-old principle. It's the only one we talk about. We've given every dollar a job to those emergency dollars. And see if you don't feel a whole lot more clarity when you do just that. And one more time, what is that? Every time. You just give every dollar a job.